Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
Okay, dear guests, thank you for being with us and taking our questions in these tough times. Anna, my every interview for Ukraine goes with these words, Slava Ukraini. Yes, definitely. And then now we can start. So my first question comes to you, Anna. What it is doing business during the war? What is the condition of business community in Ukraine right now?
Thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation, for the opportunity to speak. I may tell you that business now in Ukraine is pretty challenging. But nevertheless, having said so, I can confirm that a lot of businesses manage to continue their business operations. In case they are not, of course, under the risk of being bombarded. Actually, there are some businesses which did not manage to continue, of course, but nevertheless, majority are trying to adjust. The most agile businesses which have to continue their operations are belonging to critical infrastructure. And here we are talking about banking sector, here we are talking communication business and logistics. They have to continue working in order to support or sustain the lives and operationability of the communities. The rest, it depends. In case they can move online, they are doing so. In case they can move their physical presence to other regions which are not in the risk zone, it is also good and it's possible to do business at least from there. Those ones who are not able to do that, obviously they are under threat and they are really in challenging situation. Also, when it comes to the key problems of the businesses which are encountering, they are primarily affecting logistics. Logistics, like broking of different consumer chains, logistical chains, and as a result, it is also impacting the purchasing power of people, which in its turn also impacts the business. So all in all, it's to conclude my small intervention, I can tell you that now it's difficult to make business. Companies are trying to adjust. First weeks were extremely difficult. I would say they were shocking to people. But after 2 or 3 weeks, even businesses, they started to readjust themselves to the new normality and try to find the way forward.
Good to hear that, Anna. To be more specific, like what would you identify as the main, like 3 to 5 main needs at this point that could ease the situation that you have just described?
When you ask businesses what do they need in order to function properly, the first answer is we need to restore peace, because peace is needed to continue proper operations. Because in some cases, for example, when businesses were owning quite a substantial real estate or some facilities, just in some cases, they just simply destroyed, because completely with missiles, they were completely out of the operations. And obviously, you cannot actually restore those operations in the risk that they will be again destroyed in case the war is going to be continued. So that's why the number one priority, both for business and also for the country, for people of Ukraine, is actually to make peaceful back in place. This is first. The second is, in case now the war is being continuing, obviously the second thing which is needed is we need to restore properly the logistics. Now we hear from time to time that it's been restored, but nevertheless, it's also one of the key things which the government, together with business, can somehow develop. Third, and I would say this is also competing with the second one, this is communication. Communication should be done in place between government and business, and I should sincerely thank the government of Ukraine, the president, his team, for this constant communication and on daily basis conversations with different players, including business, because nowadays this is increasingly important actually to sustain proper, I would say, information flow, so that government can know what business is thinking about this or another situation, and also we need to understand what government plans for. So that's why communication is the key. Fourth, it's necessary to have proper access to financing. In addition to that, it should be also easy rules of the game operating in Ukraine, which is also underway. And we see simplification of tax rules. Also, the speed of taking decisions on governmental level is really amazing. So that's why, it needs to be kept in this way, and then hopefully it will be kept also on, when the war is going to be over. So this kind of stuff is really essential, because proper functioning of business means proper functioning of people, because some businesses have really not so much of financial sustainability in order to sustain their employees for a long period of time. So that's why we need somehow to help businesses to function.
Does it help to be part of community, because that's a bigger community, right? It's you're represented by Ukraine. We have here John that's representing Iba Georgia. Does that help to be part of a larger community at this point of hardship?
We were also the first week of the war. We were also thinking what should be our role and what should be our mission in that new reality. And of course, we were also trying to find that new way. And we understood that yes, it's really helpful to a certain extent to be part of the broader community, because then you can exchange insights with other players, and you can see what are the life hacks, you can see access to proper information, you can exchange information with others. So that's why, at least from our side, we decided to make on regular basis polls, surveys, in order to understand what businesses are thinking about. Then second, we also relaunched, I would say, redesigned our previous platforms which were functioning in a peaceful world. Second Chance Bank, which was initially designed as a sustainability platform, but nowadays it is a platform for exchange of needs and propositions in the military reality. And it works also pretty well. It's like an announcement dashboard for those ones who need something and those ones who are proposing something to the government or to the businesses, to the volunteers, to whoever needs actually any support in the military terms. So this kind of stuff is possible when the broader community is functioning. So that's why obviously I think that everyone needs to find its niche in the new normality, and it seems to me both ourselves and simple businesses will have the opportunity to cooperate, even if the time is really challenging.
Thank you, Anna, for that answer. John, let me come to you with the next question. What is Georgia thinking about this devastating war, and what mechanisms does Georgia have to actually support Ukraine?
Thank you very much, Elaine, for inviting me to this panel. And I'm very proud to be here together with Anna, the Executive Director of the European Business Association in Ukraine. First of all, I would like, on behalf of EBA Georgia, the Board of Directors and all its members, again condemn Russian military aggression in Ukraine and express our full solidarity. The whole Europe stands with Ukraine, and we want to show that deep solidarity we share with Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. Of course, we are also shocked what we see the last days, the images. And on that part also, our task, we are ready to support EBA Ukraine as the largest community and business association in Ukraine and strengthen the cooperation as for the associated trio members, Ukraine, Georgia and Moldova. From EBA Georgia, I can tell already that a lot of companies supported Ukraine, now the first supply of refugee goods. So I have to mention here Crystal, ProCredit Bank, GPI Holdings, and we are actively advertising for the EBA members to show which kind of support they are giving now, that we can also show that we are one community and working together with the business community. In my view, what EBA Georgia and Ukraine would be needed the most, actually, even more than today, would be to when rebuilding of Ukraine, to make sure that the business can, as Anna was mentioning perfectly, the business to continue. There is a horrible war going on, and let's hope that this is as fast done as possible. But then it's going to be the rebuilding. And of that place, I think EBA Georgia could take a lead together with other EBAs in the region, Moldova also, to make sure to give the full support for the Ukrainian business to start up. That's it.
John, Anna was mentioning that, in these tough times, it is essential to have close cooperation with the government, so that to know what kind of steps to take. What's in your case for the EBA Georgia to be effective? Does it also need that kind of tight cooperation and communication with the government, and what's there? Tell us.
I would first say I have to thank EBA Ukraine, because they are really the biggest association, European business association in the region. And of course, we always also looked at how they are proceeding in their country. And Anna was telling it perfectly. So business surveys, this is regularly done. And actually, EBA Georgia also has a business survey just done that we will publish in the next couple of weeks. We have still meetings on that part. What is the feeling of European businesses in Georgia? There's actually an idea, but I have to admit I didn't discuss it with Anna or EBA Moldova also, that I would like to combine the survey results and see what is the difference according to the situation on the surveys, what is the impact. A very important thing, what the EBA stands for, is evidence-based public-private dialogue. I cannot stress it out more. Every meeting we're having, I'm telling, we need to have public-private dialogue, the business community with governments in every country, and it has to be evidence-based. It has to be done with correct policy making. There should be position papers produced afterwards with a common goal, how to improve the business. Now, very technical, but Anna mentioned there logistics, and I'm in the logistics. And I even have also an office in Ukraine. Gosselin is also in the Ukraine. I know the situation with logistics. This is a very big problem to get logistics, especially now in this war situation, done. But even afterwards, I think in the future also, we should think in future ways also how to improve logistics to make sure it goes easier. Now, I know a lot of businesses are avoiding Ukraine and Russia because of the war. It doesn't mean that we have to figure out now new transport routes, because that's not correct. The business should be as before it is, but we can strengthen it. And we can strengthen it how? By, as business, pushing our governments to make sure to easify the paperwork and transit going through the countries, to make sure that there is a good connection between all European countries and Eastern Partnership countries.
Thank you, John. My next question is about doing business with Russia. We see that because of this unprecedented international sanctions. Companies are leaving Russian markets, big companies, large players. Is there really, because both of you are in business, is it really a big reputational damage to those businesses who continue doing business with Russia and also seeking some new opportunities? And do you see such businesses that might be seeking new relations and new opportunities of doing business on Russian market? Anna, I will start with you.
Yes, it's a very sensitive topic, of course, for many businesses in Ukraine, because we have international companies, for example, which are operating not only in Ukraine, but also in other areas, including Russia. For them, there is always a choice, either to continue business as usual in Russia, or somehow try to think also other human ways, because you cannot just pick up and select money when people are being killed. So we are not talking about just simple politics. We are just talking about country who is killing actually other citizens of other country, and the crimes are really enormous. And we are all seeing them because they are all broadcasted on international TVs. So that's why, it's from the human point of view, it's necessary to make a choice on what side you are going to take. But having said so, I can tell you that a number of international companies are really thinking to withdraw from Russian Federation, but it's not that easy as well. So that's why, they all have their own consultations inside their companies. Some have left already the Russian Federation market, but some are still in the process. Though I can tell you that in Ukraine, those companies which are doing business in Russia, they are very toxic, and their reputation has been damaged. But again, Ukrainian government is also thinking how to, punish, so to say, in normal way, how to push those companies who are still in Russia to withdraw from Russia. And it's not only about Ukraine, it's about the restoring peace in the world. This is the task which is behind that, because our government and many players, Ukrainian businesses who think that it's not necessary to continue business in Russia, they are simply thinking in this way because it's necessary to stop funding military machine of Russian Federation. They are just simply going about actually humanity and crimes against humanity and this kind of issues, which are far higher than just simple money terms. So we'll see how it will go. Currently, I explained you the situation, and currently, as I said, companies will try to think how to swiftly or smoothly somehow reconsider their presence on the market of Russian Federation and still having presence in Ukraine and other countries of the region. So it seems to me that now we have just a huge hit to the global operations, different firms, because in interventions or break of different logistics chains in Ukraine and Russia also means huge impact on the global situation, especially when it comes to the food industry. So these seemingly minor things, although now it's simply not minor, they really change a lot the global situation. And let's hope that the war is going to be over in Ukraine, and it will be not expanding further, because having experienced the war in Ukraine, I can tell you this is really terrible, and I've not experienced just part of those things which have been broadcasted yesterday in Bucha and Irpin. So that's why it's necessary to understand that even minor things being felt in wartime, they are terrible. But we are not talking about even more terrible things, which I would say they are really hitting lives of people.
Yeah, I don't even know what to tell you when you are talking about this devastating war, because like those 5 days in August that Georgia has experienced were so terrible, and now we see it's more than a month that Ukraine is in this devastating situation. So it's awful. It's awful, and when you think that it's 21st century outside, and this should not be happening. Definitely, John. I'm coming to you because I can understand. When business is doing business in Ukraine and at the same time, for example, doing business in Russia, and that's definitely a reputational damage there. How is it perceived in Georgia, in our country?
Yeah. It's a very difficult question to answer, and I think Anna already told it perfectly, but I want to stress it out. We are a business association. We have to watch out here. The businesses did not cause a war. It is politicians who causes war. So I fully agree that the big company says we're withdrawing in Russia. I fully agree with economic sanctions, but I would not agree that we have to attack now individual companies because they, for example, are busy withdrawing but need some time because they have some contracts to fulfill also. That they need time to this one. I'm sure, I'm not sure if I can tell that, but I think Russia will be punished at some point economically. And that was the strength because of business, because at the end, economic sanctions seems the biggest tool. And we as a business association, we're representing the business. Again, I would not go now directly to say to the companies, you need to make a decision now. I would say the companies need to follow international sanctions, regulations. We, again, fully support Ukraine on that part, but we also have to make sure that the business has some time to adapt to the new reality.
I fully understand that, but is this the moment to think about diversification? And one thing on the global, for example, business landscape, one positive thing out of this truly devastating, awful war, could it be that to see that Russia is not doing business, Russia as a state is always doing politics, and that's to my opinion, that's what we see here. Do you think that could be the motivation to think of other ways, to think of more diversification? Because we see certain decisions, right? For example, EC talking openly of taking the coal chip industry to the Europe, right? We see what's happening on the gas, Russian gas, and energy supply. Do you think that could be the motivation to think differently of doing business with Russia?
If I may answer this one, I don't think that's a decision. I think this will be a consequence.
I can tell you from my side, it seems to me that nowadays we are all, of course, thinking about diversification and thinking differently. But the problem is that we are also challenged by the risk of instability, global instability, and this uncertainty, which is not only in Ukraine but elsewhere. It seems to me does not allow a plan for long term in any possible way. Because nowadays, for example, we are all going through turbulence on European continent with those things which you have already mentioned. But it is not yet understandable how it will continue further. Will it develop? Will the war develop, or will it be stopped? And in this kind of situation, it's very difficult, it seems to me, for businesses and for governments to plan anything. So that's why, it seems to me the new motto for the current reality is plan for one day ahead. So because there is no visibility, it's like, driving the plane in the fog. It's not possible to make any possible, diversified decision because you simply need to secure security in the short term. Of course, I would be happy for those businesses which can plan long term, in this uncertain time. But I'm not sure that there is many of such businesses at the current state. So
Yes,
obviously,
I would definitely agree with that, Anna. But what I was thinking of is that can it be kind of like a part of the mindset now that doing a lot of business with Russia means giving it the power to at some point do what it did in Georgia, what it does in Ukraine.
in this way, I can tell you the following. Just recently, we also had a meeting in Brussels with representatives of different business associations, and there was also a question on that. What will be with energy market in Europe? Will that be a possibility to survive without energy products from Russia? And, of course, everybody was thinking that it's difficult, it's challenging, but the point is, at some point, it will be necessary to make this choice. And I'm sure that Europe, at least at the current state of play, will find the way how to make it done. I'm personally believe in Europe. I think that there are plenty of smart people here, lots of technologies, and also still quite a substantial number of developed countries in the world which are in peace. So yes, it's at the current stage. I think that there is a possibility to find other way of doing things and other way of sustainable development, even removing energy things of Russia from the global arena. So that's why it needs, of course, it requires certain actions. It requires more, I would say, involvement, more ideas, and another way of thinking, as you say. But it's possible. It's possible. I sincerely believe in that.
I would add on that one, like Anna was telling also, that actually our businesses, the European Business Association, is supporting European businesses, but also we're facilitating the trade between Georgia, Ukraine, and Europe. And I would add that the companies I've met here, and I'm sure in Ukraine the same, that they have European values, European standards. We all belong to the European family. And I think that is also one of the steps that I think is important for business, that this application process for European membership is facilitated, because that's actually, in your question you had, will give predictability for businesses and to change also their vision, diversify their business also more. This will help a lot for the businesses to be having business plans every year that they can make if they are part of that family.
Yes, and my last question, and thank you for your time, definitely will be, what is your main message? What should be the main takeaway from our viewers? John, I will let you start, and I will end with Anna.
But the takeaway, I would say, as from the start, I said, I'm so proud here having an interview together with Anna from the European Business Association Ukraine. We, as the European Business Association Georgia, fully support and want to keep on supporting. But also, I will communicate to organize some B2B networking wherever we can support, especially in the rebuild of Ukraine, the rebuild of the European businesses, the businesses in Ukraine who are members of European Business Association there, that we are fully support, and we're looking forward to really strengthen these ties between our associations also.
Anna, the last word is yours.
I can really support what John is saying. Of course, definitely we can cooperate, and there is always room for broader cooperation. And I think this is the time of doing that. But messages which I wanted to conclude this meeting with are the following. First, businesses will find their way, because businesses are pretty pragmatic and they will find their way to adjust. That's what we are seeing now. But the key message is we all, the whole world, the whole democratic normal world, should try to make everything possible that the war in Ukraine should be stopped, that the peace is restored. This is the main message, because I guess that the war in Ukraine, war in Europe, is not necessary in the 21st century. So that's why, from the human point of view and from the business point of view, from the economy point of view, obviously the whole world should do everything possible effort in order to stop the war in Ukraine. And then it will be the way for new development.
Let me interrupt you before you end your... are economic sanctions one step towards ending this war? Do you see economic sanctions as a tool for ending this war?
It is one of the tools, but nevertheless, at least in Ukraine, they don't think that it is sufficient so far at this stage. What we are talking about is about Ukrainian businesses, international businesses in Ukraine, and what Ukrainian economy is now doing through. I can tell you that obviously sanctions will work, but what Ukraine needs also from the world, from Europe, from US and other countries, is actually equipment, weapons in order to stop the war in Ukraine. This is something which has been asking for government of Ukraine, and this is something which people in Ukraine are in need for, because now we are talking about physical security of people, and this is something which needs to be back in place. And this could be done also one part by sanctions, but it will be a more lengthy way for restoring things. And second part, in parallel, it should be actually equipping with weapons Ukrainian military forces, because they are simple, fantastic heroes, and we are all in Ukraine are really relying on them and very much respect them and very much wish them good luck and really much strength and force in order to restore peace in our country and in the whole democratic world.
Let me join you in that, definitely with all my heart and soul, and hope. I'm sure Ukraine will win, but let's hope that it will be sooner than when we anticipate. Thank you so much for being with us and talking to the Czechs.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.